Well, I'm very pleased to be interviewing Jim Multari, who's Director of Research for Sprout. Jim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with your background. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I started out on the supplier side of research. I was in college as an undergrad and could type really well, and saw a job for a data entry analyst, and it was with a customer satisfaction research company. And back in those days, it was paper and pencil surveys that they needed people to enter, and I did that for 2 years until I graduated and started on with them more in a research analyst role. It sprung from there. Made jumps to Harris Interactive, to GFK, a couple of other smaller research companies. And in 2003, I moved to Philadelphia, where I wanted to do more marketing communications work, and ended up at a nonprofit called Research for Better Schools, helping them start up their marketing and communications group, and spent about 18 months there, and had the opportunity to meet some of the folks at Sprout when the network was just starting up. And they were looking for a director of research, and I think my combination of research skills and the education side seemed to be a nice fit. And I've been now at Sprout for it'll be 4 years next month.
So you've had experience at a network, but also with suppliers and I think not-for-profit.
Nonprofit also, right?
How would you say research for the cable networks differ from the types of research that you've done at other employers?
Well, you know, one of the great things about research in general is, you know, I often tell people that you get exposed, especially on the supplier side, to a variety of different industries. So one day, you know, you're working in automotive, the next day you're in finance, and the next day you might be working for a packaged goods company. I would say that on the other side, it's been interesting to your customers are more of those internal business units, so the web team or the marketing team, the programming team, your ad sales group. There really isn't a formula when you're on this side of the table. Everybody has different business needs that are constantly evolving. I'd say that, you know, when you're on the supplier side, usually you've got a formula in terms of what your product is and how you sell your research and how you conduct it and what your methodology is. Whereas it's much, I think, more dynamic being on the other side of the table, where people are one day to the next shifting priorities and looking at things in different ways. So I'd say one is a bit more structured than the other, but both are equally as good, I think.
What was your major? How did you decide upon a career in research?
I was a communications major with a psychology minor. And I wanted to be a sports reporter, and still an avid sports fan today, though I would say that my passion for sports now is much more statistics and numbers driven, which I think aligns pretty well with what I'm doing. But, you know, as I said, I kind of fell into research, to be honest. You know, again, as an undergrad, fell into a world where, you know, I enjoyed data entry, and I really enjoyed the concept of asking questions to understand how people think about things, and I think then taking that and telling a story with it, and I immediately knew that was something I was interested in, and sports journalism will have to wait for another day, I guess.
You know, many of us who have been in the industry for many years fell into it, and so it's interesting to know that, you know, the next generation, of which I place you in that in a very respectful way,
Thank you.
also fell into research.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find ways of making research more of a viable choice,
Yeah.
and something that is not just a happy discovery.
Right.
What do you have any thoughts about how research can become a little bit more of an active decision?
Yeah, you know, I think you don't get taught market research unless, of course, you're in a marketing program where there may be a research class, or, you know, it's not necessarily a major or a concentration if you're in graduate school. I think today, you know, marketers are essentially researchers. When you think about, you know, how heavily involved marketing is now in the digital world and how easily trackable all of that is. Really, to be a good marketer, you need to be a good researcher. You need to understand how to interpret data and identify trends and think strategically about it. All of which to me seems like very teachable application. So I don't know if there's an opportunity or if even a program of some kind, but really I think the we call research is ingrained now into any marketer's toolkit. Again, I think in a marketing course, I would imagine that that sort of thing has to be taught, because you're really, without it, nowadays you're doing yourself a disservice.